How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Talk. And Deadpool and Wolverine has finally been released. And I normally how I do these reviews is that I'll talk about how I'm feeling going in before I see it in the theaters, and then I do a little out of theater review of it. But I wanted to gather some notes and stuff. I want to have a more coherent just review about how I felt about the movie. This honestly, I fully believe is going to save the MCU. I feel like this can finally be the kickstart that it needs to figure out what they're doing wrong and learn from their mistakes and do better. Because this is really just such a fun movie. Like, this was really a shot of adrenaline that the MCU needed to get back on pace. I'm fully there for it. Because Ryan Reynolds, he cooked with this one. Him and Sean Levy both. Like, there's so much I want to talk about. I do want to say first, I don't think this is as good as Deadpool 2. I think Deadpool 2 is the best of the trilogy, but boy, this is a close second. Like, this is a really close second because I absolutely adored this movie so much. I found it to be so unbelievably funny. And like, it wasn't as funny as Deadpool 2, but I mean, still, with that being said, like, I was laughing. My entire theater was eating this film up. There was some, like, truly amazing jokes that were said throughout. Like, stuff that, like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that they even thought of this stuff. It genuinely brought me so much happiness. Same goes for the action. The action was also like really good. Like, I say, like, this is the best of the franchise so far. Like, just Deadpool, like, I won't go into specifics with the plot because I really think it's best seen when you don't know a whole lot of what happens. But like, just his fight scenes and the stuff that it's not really a spoiler, so I'll just say this: his fight scenes with Wolverine too are so unbelievably good and so fun to watch. Like, you can tell that these people wanted to do this movie for years now, and they finally got a chance to do it, and they finally made the movie they've always wanted to make. Because I really think that, like, it was destined because Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are great friends to begin with, and they just finally were able to come together and just do this movie. There are definitely some flaws. Again, it's not as good as the first Deadpool 2. And the biggest thing that I have against it is that the villains are just really bad. Like, the whole stuff with the TVA, like, was like, a lot of it just, they felt like plot devices. They felt like they were, all their purpose was just to get the plot moving forward and just get things to go from point A to point B. Because really, the movie is about Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, that's what the whole thing is about. And they kind of treat villains as just like like second class, like not as important. And it just felt like it was like, they didn't really feel like anything special. Because like, with the first Deadpool, you got well, I just remember his name being Clarence. You got him, that was really good. You got Cable was so good in Deadpool 2. I loved Cable. That's the main reason why I think it works so well at Deadpool 2, was that Cable was just the perfect balance between seriousness and all the comedy. And I do think that is a problem with this one, and that the seriousness doesn't really fully mix well with the comedy. Like, you kind of start building in some moments of like genuine, like, actual stuff, like serious stuff going on, and it kind of just feels like it's just 15 seconds too short, to where I can't fully, like, get emotionally, like, invested and like start, like, getting to the point of tears. Whereas Deadpool 2 was like really emotionally devastating at times, and they felt like they were trying to go more for the emotional depth of the story, and it just kind of fell flat. Like, whenever they were trying to do something serious, it never worked as well as the comedy, and it wasn't done as well as what I was hoping for. Because I've been hearing some things that it was a really emotional film, and granted, like, to a lot of people, like, it could probably be a real tearjerker. But for me, I could just never get that emotionally involved with the film. But on a more positive note, the cameos, they are perfect. Like I'm not going to talk about any of the cameos. I'll let that all be a surprise for you. But the cameos were so well done, and it's not with like a lot of the cameos nowadays feel like they're just there to have like a quick like cool like little surprise thing. Like it's like cake or candy, whatever you eat. Like it's just a nice like just a little treat. Like it doesn't actually benefit you at all. You don't get anything out of it. You just it makes you all worse. But like right now, when you first see it for the first time, it feels like something truly amazing, and like you love it a lot. And that's what a lot of cameos can feel like, especially with the multiverse starting to get way out of hand. But how they did cameos in this movie, every single one of them was integral important to the plot. They were all key pieces into moving the story forward. And that's what cameos really should be at the end of the day, unless they're just like a quick, like, you see them in the background or something. Like, cameos should work like this to where, like, it actually helps move the plot forward. And they were very well done, especially it's not a cameo, but I just want to talk about it. Dogpool, so I love Dogpool so much. Like that just like that little just the ugliest dog to ever grace this planet, and it's just so adorable. You know what? That's probably gonna be like the biggest thing I remember from this movie is Dogpool because of just how much fun it was, and like it was barely in this movie. It was just in there for like a few scenes, and I swear that dog stole the movie every single scene it was in. Especially at one point where it had like goggles, like the eyes were big and it was like looking everywhere. Like it's so adorable, but also just the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. I do think that the writing for the final chapter of the multiverse stuff is finally starting to get over. I think, at least I'm hoping, Marvel is starting to realize that one of the biggest problems that started with all these movies was the multiverse. It's a really cool idea when done right. Everything Everywhere All at Once does the multiverse concept perfectly. Marvel didn't do this perfectly. In fact, they did it horribly. Especially like when you look at Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, where you see a quick few frames of the multiverse and then like you're stuck in one universe the rest of the movie, and the other concepts that they use with this movie, it's all incoherent and just not well done, and they just need to call it quits, realize that just stick on Earth. They call it Earth 616. I hate that, by the way. This is not Earth 616. The comics, that's 616. This is Earth 1999-99. That, at least with the Spider-Verse movies, another reason why I loved Into the Spider-Verse, oh no, Across the Spider-Verse, I mean, is that they referenced it as Earth 1999-99, because that's what world the MCU is in. It's not 616. They really need to stop calling it 616 because it bugs me so much, because they're wrong with their own concept, with their own movies. But I mean, where was I even at with that one? Right, the multiverse. So yeah, I think the multiverse is slowly going to start to just kind of go away. I feel like there's still going to be the multiverse is still going to be present in Avengers 5 and 6, but I really do believe that after that point, it's just going to be done with. Like it's just going to the concept's going to kind of run its course and just be done with, because the multiverse saga really could have been really well. It could have been so great, but there was just a lack of vision with these Marvel movies, and I think that's one thing that Deadpool and Wolverine is starting to slowly start to fix, is that like they're kind of focusing more on like keeping a distinct vision of what these movies should be and what the story should be, because never at any point in any of these movies do I feel like it's all one connected universe, as opposed to what phases what 1 2 3, right? And I'm so rusty on my Marvel knowledge, but the Infinity Stone Thanos I part of the story, where like they all felt like they were all the same movie. And once Endgame came out, it just stopped feeling like that. And I think that's one thing that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to finally start steering the ship towards, and that's just keeping it all one same concept, just making sure all these stories flow together really nicely. They can all be their own unique films, but also have like parts of the story that connect with others and move the overall idea. And I think that that can be the biggest thing that Deadpool and Wolverine can do to this franchise, to the MCU as a whole. That's the biggest benefit that can come from it. But I mean, it is a really nice send off to the Fox movies because that's another reason why this movie was made. I mean, the movies ended. I mean, yeah, they ended with Dark Phoenix, and Dark Phoenix was Dark Phoenix. I mean, after Days of Future Past, the X-Men movies just went way downhill. Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix were both some like truly they were something, and the Fox characters never really got a proper goodbye that they deserved. And I mean, it's not like you see like every single X-Men like showing up and like having like their own little goodbye. Like it's more just like in general of the Fox studio itself, like the actual Marvel Fox idea. And it was a really nice send off. It let them all like all see some of the characters back for this movie, and it feels really nice, especially at the very end, because they kind of have a post-credit scene where it's like just like a featurette of all the other X-Men movies, all the Fox X-Men movies, and it feels really nice. I genuinely had a really good smile when I watched that because like it just like it reminded me of just like all the memories that I had with these movies, both good and bad. Like I still remember being a little kid hating X-Men First Class because Wolverine wasn't in it, and I just loved everything Wolverine. I remember Days of Future Past, where that movie was just absolutely insane. I loved it. And I even remember when Logan came out. I was really young when I watched Logan for the first time, and that was an emotional train wreck of in and of itself. That was, man, that's a depressing movie. But I'm happy. I'm happy with how the journey ended because there was a lot of ups and downs with those movies. There's some really great superhero movies, some really poorly done ones too. And overall, like it just made me have a smile at the end. It made me see that like this is like I'm really happy this is how things ended with it. And I don't know how many better ideas outside of doing like a proper X-Men final movie, how many other better ways they could have gone out. And I'm really happy that Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds decided to do that because they honestly deserved it. I mean, for 20 years, those X-Men movies were like some of the biggest superhero movies, even before the MCU was ever even thought of. Those X-Men movies started the golden age of comic book movies, and they deserve to have that final goodbye as the rest of the genre continues on without them. But there is one final thing I want to talk about. Probably one of my favorite soundtracks in a long time. I mean I gotta tell you that the soundtrack is so unbelievably amazing. Like they have so many songs I was not expecting to see in a Deadpool movie. Like they even had like I was so sad because I saw a post of seeing like the entire soundtrack and all the lists, and Greatest Showman does show up in this movie. However, oh, sorry, The Greatest Show. That's what it's called, the song title. And it does appear in the movie very briefly. And like, I was really sad because I was really hoping that there was going to be like a big like action sequence or like something going on with The Greatest Show playing in the background. That wasn't the case, but still, I will be very much looking at the soundtrack once I can get my hands on it and re-listening to it over and over again because my goodness gracious, that was such a fun soundtrack. But overall, it was a very good movie. I had a lot of I had a blast with that movie. It was so very well done between all the characters. It was a good send off. I mean, there wasn't a perfect movie. There was definitely plenty of flaws that it had, but those flaws were like just too small to really like have any effect on me because overall at the end of the day this movie was just about Deadpool and Wolverine. That's what this entire thing was built for. It was built to just finally have those two on screen, and the cameos were great. The writing was perfect. The jokes were amazing. Not as good as Deadpool 2, but I really enjoyed it. So overall, I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. Very good film. Might not end. It's probably not going to end up in my top 10 of the year, but it's still a very fun movie that I had a blast being able to watch. Yeah, I mean that's my overall review of Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, what did you think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? I mean, tell me what you thought of the movie as a whole, or just tell me your thoughts about the review. And I mean, if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe to the channel. I do all these kinds of reviews. Have a lot of fun being able to do these types of videos. And yeah, I mean that's really all to say. So that's movie talk. See ya.